Hey, 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 it's 9:01. You know what time it is. It is time to do what we do and get some intel on love and marriage. Huntsville. Once again, everything on this channel is alleged, in my opinion, is for entertainment purposes only. Once again, everything on this channel is alleged, in my opinion, is for entertainment purposes only. Once again, everything on this channel is alleged, in my opinion, is for entertainment purposes only. So let's get to it. We are with Nell at Growing Smiles. This has been around in Huntsville, Alabama, or Alabama, to use Stephen A. Smith's phrasing of Alabama, for over 20 years. So shout out to that black excellence. Chris pulls up to Growing Smiles in a Ford truck, not truck, with lunch. I think it was lunch at least. Chris Fletcher tells Nell that little Chris stopped by Chris's office, and Nell feels a way about it because it's just like, okay, he could come to you, but he can't come to me. And it's just like, no, they did tell you that you go from 0 to 100 like in zero point 0.0 seconds. So, yeah. But I still love you though. I still think that, the Fletchers are like the soul that this show needs at this point. And so I love you, Nell, but also we gotta deal with the facts as well. So Nell wants to know why little Chris couldn't call her just to at least say hi and avoiding giving her money. And Chris says, well, Chris is, and Nell says, an actual social cell phone. So Chris says when little Chris comes around the family, he feels like he's getting jabbed at. And Nell says, if the only time I see you is at the dinner, I am going to jab, which honestly, it's just not the move, because truly, if you want somebody to come around you, you have to be inviting enough for them to come around. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Every family is different. So Chris Fletcher told little Chris that the family is supposed to be there to help you. That's what your siblings are there for. That's what mom and dad is for. And Nell said that mom and dad have helped, and that Chris needs to get off his actual social self and make grown actual social self decisions to do right by his parents and siblings. And so, Chris Fletcher agrees, and Nell says Chris likes to hold things over people's heads, and Nell said, "What if I held over his head that he needed 2 lawyers and all that ish?" And that little Chris is a real typical actual social soho. Nell then says Chris doesn't like to, little Chris doesn't like to hear the truth, and is sad about the decision that he's made. Plus, that he is criticized a lot by the family. Chris understands everything Nell is saying, but seeing little Chris at his office saw a different side to him, and Chris Fletcher thinks that their son needs to get counseling, needs help. Nell asks what help does he need, but when Chris was about to explain, and Nell blocks the answer being said. So Nell says that little Chris is about himself. He's not happy with his life, and when he has money, he's on that high. You can't tell him nothing. You and I both know that. Chris says, well, I'm really proud of Chris for saying this, and he said this in the most loving, kind, and gracious way. Chris says, and I quote, well, because I had the conversation with him and you did. Chris Fletcher still feels that little Chris needs counseling. He won't talk to us or his siblings. He spends time by himself. Little Chris spends time by himself, doesn't get much sleep, and gets up at 2 or 3 a.m. and just drives. Nell says, well, that's how you get in trouble. Chris Fletcher said weighed heavy on him that their son little Chris, was saying to himself and feels that he's fallen into a form of depression, and that Chris Fletcher broke down, had to collect himself. Nell said that's what it sounds like, and that little Chris was messed up from letters that he got from football. It didn't go nowhere. That was his gift, and he got in trouble with the law. Mom and dad got him souped up cars, and that didn't help with the responsibility. Little Chris is not happy with his life and career path. Chris Fletcher says he's lost and no understanding. And Nell says, well, if he's doing all that and that is a problem, I won't stress about the money anymore. I was just trying to hold him accountable. And Chris Fletcher says that he gets that, but little Chris doesn't see that because he's lost. Nell says she doesn't want rather Chris Jr. to not feel welcome by the family over money if he agrees to go counseling. So Chris Fletcher will reach out to little Chris. Even if he goes by himself, the counselor may suggest later on to join in. And Nell says, if this happens, I will support him and you as well. And so I really do think that truly at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, that this was a very productive conversation, and I'm glad that there is a resolution coming, because truly I am pulling for the family. I want them to be great. I want them to win, and I want them to rise to their greatness. I feel like there is a lot of love in this family, but it's just some brokenness. And it's not like other families don't have this. And, I understand Chris Jr. a little bit of, trying to stay away because you don't want to be a burden, and you don't want all the opinions of you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and all that stuff. And it's not like you're not trying, but you do feel that there is a wasted um energy to you, that you're doing all that you can, but you're not getting anything back. So I really am pulling for him, and I get how Nell is a black mama. Boy, I told you what to do. Why aren't you doing it? Well, guess what? We hard headed, and to be quite honest, Chris and Nell, I say this with love, and I say this to every black parent with love, and I'm not excluding their other parents, but to black parents specifically, y'all made mistakes before you had us here. So what you think we supposed to do? Right? You don't think we're not gonna make mistakes along the way? Because I bet you, if we talk to the grandparents, they'll probably say some stuff that'll make your behind sit down, shut the fuck up. So, like, we gotta understand that kids are not going to be perfect. Dr. Phil has always said this, that we may not love everything a person does, so that doesn't mean we don't love them. And I truly do feel that Nell is a protective mama bear because she wants her kids to win. But sometimes how you come at your kids depends on how your kids come at you. Now, I'm not saying that kids should not be respectful, because let me tell you something, there's no way in hell I could talk like Lexi, and that would have been okay. Just gonna be real about it. But hey, to each their own. I do want them to work things out. Also, too, I really am proud of Chris Fletcher for, just trying to just bring some soul to the son. And I totally get that, with the son, it's not easy to be able to express your feelings. Black men are told you're this, you're that, you're strong, you can make it through, pray about it. I think everybody has been told that before, pray about it. But sometimes prayer doesn't work, and sometimes you really do just need that hug. I'll never forget when my elementary school closed down. Um, I'll never forget the day, because I saw a good friend of mine on THV. They call it THV 11 in Arkansas, but I'm telling you, that's a real Arkansas. Nobody calls it THV 11. They call it today's THV. That's just like the Simmons Bank Arena. No one calls it that. Real Arkansans call it the Alltel Arena, because Alltel was a wireless company, a national wireless company, that was born, raised, and grew up in Arkansas. So anyway, but I really do believe truly that the beginning of the day, at the beginning, middle, end of the day, that black men have a lot on them, and because we have to be more of a backbone than most, that we get succumb to the pressure sometimes. We do. Sometimes I feel like I'm not where I want to be in my life. And, for some things, it's my fault. And then for other things, it's just not time yet. But I also have to recognize too, I think the community is recognizing this too. We have to create a space for men to breathe. And the reason why most men burn out is because we don't let them release the burn of that. The words of Shrek, better out than in. And so I think counseling's going to work just fine. And I also think too, even though Nelson, I'm not going to be yelling at him, in a counseling session. Well, guess what? Sometimes, that may happen. That if that does happen, don't allow that yelling to block the blessing of a healing. Don't allow that yelling to block the blessing of a healing. Don't allow that yelling to block the blessing of a healing. Because guess what? Before you get to a healing, it's going to be a rough path to get to healing, okay? Please believe that. So I do think everything will be okay. I think that Chris and Nell are good parents. They just want the best for their kids. And because you want the best, not everything is going to be a how can I put this? The elevator is broken, take the stairs. So this is just going to be a longer this is just going to be a longer um how can well it's going to be a longer walk up the stairs to get to where they need to go, but they will get to the top eventually. That's what I gotta say about this great scene with Nell and Chris Fletcher. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. One love, much love, all love. Bye, yeah, 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 bye, yeah, 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 bye, everybody.